Hi guys, Olive here. Here today to talk to you about some books that I think may interest you if you are a big fan of Antoine de Saint-Exupery's classic children's book, The Little Prince. This little book is beloved all over the world. I know so many of you out there cherish this book. I myself only read it for the first time last year, but after I read it, I was immediately intrigued. I wanted to learn more about this book and about its author, who died so young and still somewhat mysteriously. And it just so happened after I read this book for the first time that a lot of different books about the author or about this book started crossing my path. I have since gone on to read all of those books, and I thought I would take some time to bring them to your attention, just in case you're a big fan of The Little Prince, or if you just like to immerse yourself in the world of Saint-Ex. So the first book on this little list is a book that I stumbled into completely randomly when I was looking for new book releases that were going to be coming out. It's called How to Live Like the Little Prince, a grown-up's guide to rediscovering imagination, adventure, and awe by Stephen Garnier. And this is a motivational type book, or even a type of workbook, that looks at the lessons that can be found within The Little Prince. The whole idea behind this book is that we all have a little prince inside of us. In other words, the child we once were. Our childhood selves, who we owe so much of our adult selves to, but those inner children within us so often get forgotten or overlooked in favor of adult concerns and everyday life kinds of things. But the author of this book takes passages from The Little Prince and highlights messages that we can take from them. And the author encourages us to reconnect with that little prince, to communicate with him on a regular basis, to really think back to what we wanted when we were children, what made us happy, what were our dreams. The more we can pay attention to those inner desires that we had as children, those pure things that made us happy, the more we can make informed choices as adults and be pursuing our own happiness. These types of motivational or self-help type books do admittedly have a tendency to lean toward the cheesy side, but surprisingly, I didn't find that to be the case in this book. I actually got a lot out of reading this. I think all of us are guilty at one point or another of getting too bogged down by day-to-day life kinds of things. We forget what it's like to keep things simple, to just enjoy our lives and pursue the things that are actually going to make us happy. I think we lose focus on that so easily because there are so many other distractions in the world. I really enjoyed the challenge of thinking back to who I was as a little girl. What made her happy? What dreams did she have for the life I'm leading right now? I found that to be really refreshing. So this is a sweet book, but it is also a very necessary wake-up call. It was for me anyway. And I think it'll make you see some little details within The Little Prince a whole lot differently. The next book I would like to tell you about is a work of fiction, and it is called Studio Saint-Ex by Anya Sato, in which Saint-Exupery does play a major role, hence the title of this book, but he's not actually the main character. That title belongs to a fictional fashion designer who met the author during the just over 2 years he spent in America before his ill-fated return to his home country. In this book, this fashion designer, Mignon LaChapelle, finds herself in a very complex situation between Antoine and his wife Consuelo, and is actually around to witness him writing what would go on to become The Little Prince, during which process she actually pitches in some ideas, mainly involving fashion, if you can believe it. Again, Mignon is fictional, so this is not actually how things went down, but the creation of her character gives us as readers the ability to get a glimpse into what Saint-Ex's creative process may have been like. And even though this is very fictional, it is based in fact. So there are lots of pieces of the truth in this book. This is a really fun work of historical fiction, even though its two main focuses, I would say, are on Mignon and her career and then the tumultuous relationship between Antoine and Consuelo, there is still a lot of The Little Prince within this novel, including what I think are some really good competing theories about what, or even who, the rose within The Little Prince actually represents. But if you are in the market for something historically accurate, you can do absolutely no better than Stacy Schiff's incredibly thorough biography, Saint-Exupery. You may have heard of some of her other biographies. She wrote a great one on Cleopatra, and her look at the life of the writer Vladimir Nabokov's wife, Vera, actually won the Pulitzer Prize in biography. This was actually the first biography she ever wrote, and it was nominated for a Pulitzer. If you want to know more about the man who wrote the classic, this is the place to go. And honestly, once you learn more about his life by reading this book, it becomes so clear where the Little Prince came from. Everything from his attachment to his childhood, his dreamer-like personality, his experiences as a pilot that informed some of the events within The Little Prince, and perhaps most of all the different challenges he faced in his short life. Namely, his challenges with love. He was an incredibly interesting, albeit extremely complicated man, and I so much enjoyed learning more about his life in this detailed and frankly very sophisticated book. But it was more than just that. I felt like it helped me see The Little Prince with new eyes. I just very recently went back and reread The Little Prince, and I did feel like I was reading it for the first time again because I knew so much more about the man behind it, so I could see more where the book was coming from. So if you would like a similar experience, I highly recommend reading this. But if we're going down that path of learning more about the author, then I absolutely must mention The Prince of the Skies by Antonio Iturbe, which is a novelization of the life of not just Saint-Exupery, but also the lives of his friends and colleagues, Jean Marmoz and Henri Guillemet. I actually think this book would pair rather nicely with the Stacy Schiff biography, because this book includes a lot of fictionalized versions of true, real-life events that happened, as you'll read about in the biography. This book brings them to life, which I found to be wonderful. I also really loved that we got to learn so much about the lives of the other two men. I mean, Saint-Ex is definitely the most important figure in this book. He is definitely honored in this book. But we get to learn so much about the other two as well. We get to see things from their perspective, including how they saw Saint-Ex, which was, in my opinion, a very valuable part of this book. But also, this book so perfectly captures the love of adventure that these three shared. And that's something that this book has that I don't feel like any other book on this list does. I would actually classify this as an adventure book because it describes the thrill of being up in the clouds, but it also describes the dangers. And you really get to go through that with these real men, but as characters. I think this book does lose a little bit of steam toward the end, but overall, I had a great time reading this. But circling back around to books that explicitly focus on The Little Prince, there is one more book I want to show you in this video, and it is a memoir called Fox and I, An Uncommon Friendship by Catherine Raven. And this is a sort of stream of consciousness nature memoir in which the author befriends a local fox. And the way this relates to The Little Prince is that part of the process of these two getting to know each other is that the author would read The Little Prince aloud to the fox. Assuming you've read The Little Prince, if you're watching this video and have made it this far into the video, it's funny she chose The Little Prince to read to the fox. It was probably very intentional because a fox makes an appearance toward the end of that book. There's this whole discussion between the fox and the Little Prince about the idea of taming, which was always a concept that fascinated Saint-Ex, as you'll read about in some of these other books that I've talked about in today's video. But it was also definitely a concept concept that Catherine Raven was thinking about as she started getting this fox used to her presence and then indirectly taught it to know her by both sight and sound. There's also an additional connection between this memoir and The Little Prince in that these are two books that show two different creatures from two different worlds, whether it be the aviator and the Little Prince and the fox, Catherine Raven and her fox. These are two creatures from two entirely different worlds who are doing their best to try to understand one another and meet on common ground. I really liked the layered connections between this book and The Little Prince, hence why I thought it was a good fit for this list. And if you're seeing this video right after I post it, I am very happy to announce that I am hosting a giveaway of the paperback version of this book for anyone in the continental United States. It starts today and will end at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday, July 5th, 2022. All you need to do to enter this giveaway is be subscribed to this channel and leave me a comment in the comment section below that contains the following 3 things. Number 1, you have to tell me you want to enter. The second thing is tell me what your favorite children's book is. It can be any book. It doesn't have to be The Little Prince in order for you to win. And the third thing is you have to tell me the best way to get in contact with you, because I will be reaching out to winners on Wednesday, July 6th, and I will need to get your contact info, so all winners must be over 18 years old. I'll be giving away 5 copies to people within my comment section, but I'm giving away an additional 5 copies over on my Instagram at @abookolive. So if you want to jump over there and follow the rules to enter over there, you can get an additional entry. Again, this is only open to people within the continental United States, and you must be over 18 years old to enter. But if you have any additional comments or questions you would like to share with me, you are also welcome to put those in the comment section below. And if you would like to keep up with what I am reading and writing about right now, you can find me on a variety of places around the internet, like Instagram, but also Goodreads and other places. The links to everywhere you can find me will be at the bottom of the description box below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.